All right, Doug's by Nature Rufio here. Today we're just going to quickly recap the Cleveland Browns 2021 draft, just in case you've been living under a rock. You don't know who this man is. We're going to talk about the picks that were made today and kind of what I think of this draft, just in a quick recap. Following this video, I'm going to be doing breakdowns on individual players, so try to check those out if you can. I think this is a great draft class to kind of break down. And I think it's really cool to kind of see after maybe year two of Andrew Berry, kind of his approach to the draft and how he's going to go about this thing. So, great draft for Cleveland, in my opinion, as you can probably tell by the thumbnail and this graphic I have up. So let's get right to it, break it down. So first round, we stayed pat at 26. Kind of weird as a Browns fan drafting that late. But we still got a player who I think is extremely good. And I'll say this time again about this draft. I have no idea how this kid was still there when we were picking. At 26, I had Greg Newsom as a third best corner in this draft. To be honest, after the draft, and this could be, I'm a biased fan. Let's be honest. I'm a homer. This could be that bias speaking, but I'd probably put him as the second best corner in the draft. I think J.C. Horn is still probably at the top spot. Greg Newsom, though, I think is probably better than Surtain at this point in his career. And certainly in terms of upside, I see him having a far better upside than Surtain. I think Caleb Farley probably has, or potentially has, some of the most upside in the entire draft at corner. But man, the floor for Caleb Farley, I think, was very, very low. So in Greg Newsom, I think we got a guy with maybe the second highest ceiling in the entire draft, but who also has a high floor as well. And this is Greg Newsom up at the top. This is what you're going to see from him, right? He is a man-to-man corner. Here he's playing in off-man coverage, and you see him with instincts. Right, you see him play with good instincts, good intelligence. Here, Wisconsin's going to try to get him on a stutter go. He, bites on it a little bit, but has the recovery speed to make up for it. And then at the end of plays, this is what you love to see from Greg Newsom that you absolutely do not see from Farley, is that he will finish plays. He might not intercept a lot of passes. I think a lot of that is because people just straight up avoid him. If I counted correctly, Ohio State targeted him once in the Big Ten championship game this past year. But what you see is he will find the ball, he will get to the ball, and he will get his hands on the ball, and the receiver will not have the ball, right? Which it doesn't matter how much speed you have if you catch up to the guy and you just let him catch it anyway over you. So, I love Newsom as a player. He's got speed. He's a man-to-man corner. We can leave him out on an island, which I think is going to be very, very important to do to be able to stop or at least slow down Lamar Jackson in our division. And I think Greg Newsom is a high-ceiling, high-floor type of player. I think he was one of the best in his position at the draft. I think we got him much later than I expected him to go. And this is a kid who is basically a bigger and slightly slower Denzel Ward. That's what I think of Greg Newsom, and I think the world of Denzel Ward, so that should tell you everything you need to know. All right, so the next guy we drafted, we actually moved up in the draft, which is not something you typically associate with Depot and with Andrew Berry, but it's something we did in this case, and I'm really glad we did, because we drafted Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, in the second round. I absolutely cannot believe this player was available for us. I had him as the second player on my board for the Cleveland Browns. So basically, if we had the second overall pick and we took JOK, I would have been ecstatic. I have no idea how we got this cat in the 50s. No clue. So I'm more than okay trading up for him. We didn't really give up that much to move up to get him. I would have been fine if we drafted him over Newsom in the first round, and to get both is simply, I don't understand how we were able to do it. Actually, I feel like I kind of understand it, but I think it's really dumb that we were able to do that, but man, am I glad that we did. So JOK, this is kind of what you see from him on film. He just wrecks your plans, okay? we're going to play him at will. You probably heard, the Browns and Owusu himself talking about how he's going to be a will linebacker for us. He played essentially in college a weird role, and I think that's part of the reason he fell is because he played a role that's like part safety, part slot corner, part strong side linebacker. And he really is actually good at all of those things. So to me, Owusu is pretty similar player to Isaiah Simmons, who we saw go into the top 10 recently. Owusu I think, is a little bit smaller, but he's got a little bit more skill, and I think it's the more of the coverage skill. Like, I think Isaiah Simmons is somebody who I think in his ultimate kind of best role is going to be kind of a linebacker, pass rusher, edge player, space player, and I think Owusu could actually drop deep into the safety kind of roles or play this kind of slot corner type of role a little bit better than Simmons. So to me, Owusu they played him, here in this kind of slot corner slash strong side linebacker role. But basically what he did was just find the ball, get to it, and then blow people up. That's really what he did. And from a physical standpoint, the thing that impresses me most about Owusu is his ability to close. It doesn't matter where he starts from. If you see the ball go somewhere on the screen, you will see him get from off screen to tackling the ball carrier in literally no time. He's like a heat-seeking missile, and he will go find the ball and destroy the ball. So next in the third round, we took Anthony Schwartz. He's a wide receiver out of Auburn. And I probably have a photo of Anthony Schwartz running track on screen right now because that's pretty much what you need to know. This guy literally has world-class speed. He is not a very polished receiver at this point. He was, again, kind of used weirdly in Auburn's offense. And I think also paired with probably not the best quarterback match there for his skill set. But this is a guy who's very, very intriguing. You see a lot of teams now with kind of the Chiefs with Mecole Hardman. I think you see the 49ers with a few of these players kind of running this smaller, speedy receiver type of role. And I think that's exactly kind of what Anthony Schwartz can do for us. He can play inside, he can play outside, he can go deep. We can use him on those kind of jet sweeps, handoffs, things of that nature. But basically, we're going to need to kind of develop him and see where he goes. So, I think to a lot of casual fans, was a pick that was kind of out of the blue. But it was very clear to me from this move and from other moves we've made recently that Barry and Stefanski have kind of identified having some speed at receiver, especially in our depth, as something that we need to improve this offseason, and they've done it in a number of ways. So it'll be exciting to see, how Stefanski kind of evolves one of these roles, if one of these players is kind of able to grow into a role and kind of prove that we need to game plan with him in mind. And Schwartz, I think, has the biggest leg up on that because he literally has world-class speed. Now, next in the fourth round, we got James Hudson, right? He's a tackle out of Cincinnati. Hudson, to me, is a really intriguing player, but he's another upside player. In the fourth to seventh rounds, especially kind of day 3 of the draft, I'm big into, let's draft for potential, especially on a team like ours where, people are kind of even questioning, do we have the roster spots to make space for every one of our draft picks? I think getting some developmental guys is a great idea because if you draft someone who's already kind of a good player but has no talent, right, doesn't have enough talent to really become a good player in the league, how much does that benefit us at this point, right? Maybe it marginally helps us on special teams. But Hudson is a guy that I think, he's got a low chance of working out this way, but if he develops, he comes with the athleticism, he comes with the frame that in 2, 3, 4 years, he could be a starting caliber left or right tackle in the NFL. Now, again, it's a low chance of him getting there. I think it's a low floor on James Hudson, but the ceiling is very, very high. So, fourth round, why not? But that's what I see from him. He was, converted defensive lineman, and that athleticism that you typically see involved with the defensive line is very much, apparent in his film, right? He's got the movement skills, and he's the kind of fit at offensive line that we want for one of these zone kind of offensive linemen, the zone system. So next in the fourth round, we drafted Tommy Togiai out of Ohio State, the Ohio State University. You can see him right here as number 72. Togiai is a guy that I really like, and it's another guy that I said, how do we get him at this spot, right? I was ready to draft him probably in the third round. I have no idea how he fell to us with our second fourth round pick. Yet another guy that I don't know how Andrew Berry is doing this and pulling this off. To me, I had Togiai as a late second, early third rounder. So to get him, basically 2 rounds after that is pretty amazing. Togiai is a legend in the Ohio State weight room for his strength. Like for several years at Ohio State, anytime reporters would interview players and they'd be asked, who's the strongest guy in the team, it was always Togiai who would be mentioned. And you see motor, right? That's what this play showcases. Motor, he does have some speed as well. Quarterback here bails out of the pocket quickly. He's able to shed that blocker, which you just see constantly. If he gets single blocked, he's going to push that guy away. And then Togiai actually has some wheels after that to be able to chase that quarterback to the sideline. And obviously the motor and the want to be able to get there. So you love seeing that in Togiai, but really what you see from him is, our play is typically more like this next play. And so here he is on the line of scrimmage right here. He's lined up typically as a one technique nose tackle in Ohio State's defense. This is the guy that typically is going to get double teamed more often than not. He's between the center and guard. So, oftentimes just based on Ohio State's fronts, that's the guy whose job it was to just kind of clog things up, hold up those double teams, let his linebackers flow free and make plays. And if you're imagining Owusu behind Togiai, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But on this play, Togiai is just going to get single teamed. So what does he do? Just stacks the offensive lineman, with his strength, and then is able to shed and just tackle the ball carrier. So typically that's what he is. I got confused on some of these, Draftniks scouting reports that they were talking about him as a 3 technique. They're talking about him as being kind of a quicker penetrating lineman. And I don't know where they're seeing that. Togiai has that kind of initial quickness to be able to kind of get leverage right off the snap. And so you love that from kind of a nose tackle. But to me, by far, his strength is just posting guys up. It's just his strength is strength. That's really what it is. All right, the 5th round, we got another linebacker, Tony Fields II out of West Virginia. And this cat is just a tackle machine, right? He transferred to West Virginia. And really, he's just a kind of a classic style of linebacker in terms of like see ball, get ball. He's definitely nowhere close to the athlete that JOK is. He doesn't quite have the same fluidity, but he does, flash some quickness on film. And then, just some instincts to be able to just go find the ball, get it, and get guys to the ground. That's kind of what he does. That's a good systematic fit for what Joe Woods, I think, wants to do with our defense. But, Fields, I think, is a lower upside player, but a very productive one. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, how he works out in the NFL. I think at the kind of the Mike linebacker position, especially, historically, that's been a place where guys can get by without kind of the maximum talent, right? Like, we saw guys like Micah Parsons who maybe were slotted to play Mike linebacker in this draft, and Parsons is just a freak athlete. So that's how he's going to get the job done. But for years in the NFL, there were guys like London Fletcher who were not the best athlete, but man, they just hung around forever and tackled people, right? They did their jobs and they did them pretty well. And so I think that's kind of the ceiling for Tony Fields, and it'd be interesting to see kind of how he develops. Now in the 5th round, we got Richard LeCounte, and this is a guy that I tend to think has a little bit more upside, later in the draft. LeCounte is a guy who's a 5-star recruit out of high school. I believe Ohio State took a swing at him and missed. He ended up going to Georgia and having good production at Georgia. He did test poorly at his pro day, and on the one hand, I don't believe pro days that's something we're going to talk about with each individual player. But uh, if y'all have ever seen the 40 times coming out, especially the big programs, man, I don't know what they're doing to get these times down, but you know, it's kind of amazing to me how everybody runs at the combine and they get to the pro day like maybe 2 weeks later, and all of a sudden they're shaving tenths off their 40. Like they're fast tracks. They're fast tracks. They're unreliable times. I just take it with a grain of salt. I think you can believe the jumps, right? I don't know how you lie about a vertical jump or a broad jump at a pro day. I don't know how you lie about a bench press, right, or a weigh-in or measurement. But in terms of the field testing, the sprints, the cone drills, that sort of thing, I think you take that with a grain of salt with their times. In any event, so LeCounte didn't test well, but he's also coming out of like an injury and like a big car accident, and I'm not sure he's 100% back from that. So I think there's some health concerns with him. But again, 5th round, right? It seems like he has a high ceiling. Was a productive player in the SEC at Georgia, former 5-star recruit. That's kind of the profile of a guy who, had he tested well, maybe played a little bit better in 2020. That's his 2nd round guy. So, I think it's going to be a crowded defensive backfield, but why not? 5th round, why not? All right, last pick of our draft was Demario Felton out of UCLA. And this is a guy who's another one of those intriguing kind of speed players on offense. I think Schwartz, at least at first, is a wide receiver who we kind of like. His main role is running routes and catching the ball, and then we pull him aside for some of these jet sweeps and some of the handoffs and things like that, like kind of as a bonus. With Felton, I think it's kind of the opposite way. Like I see Felton as a 3rd down back kind of player, speed running back, and then like maybe at times you can like motion him out into the slot and let him be a receiver from there if you like the mismatch that you have, right? Like that's kind of the weapon I see Felton as on offense. But another guy who seems quick, right? He seems like he brings speed, and that's his game, is speed. So again, I don't know how much to believe UCLA's pro day times, but on film you see some speed, you see some burst, you see some quickness. That is exactly what we need out of our running backs, unless you're going to have a guy like Nick Chubb who just is like like genetically engineered and the best possible running back you could ever have. Unless you're going to get that kind of combination of like power and speed, Felton is the kind of way that you want to air, right? You want that speed, you want that burst in our system. So I think a great system fit already, and then kind of again, we'll see which of these speed guys can kind of develop, and what kind of roles we can envision for them if they are able to step up into those roles, earn them, earn the plays designed around you, and show the world what they can do. So. Another guy that I think can help us right away as as maybe a 3rd down back, a change of pace guy, and then on special teams as well. And then we'll see what kind of role he can grow into as we go forward. All right, and really that's it for this recap, Browns fans. So thanks for tuning in. I'm going to put up a little thumbnail about the first breakdown that I'm going to do, which is about Greg Newsom. And so make sure you check out those. I'm going to go through several of these draft prospects and tell you what I see from them on tape. But as always, we'd love it when you're a part of the conversation, whether that's offering your 2 cents, whether that's asking questions, whether that's just kind of getting hype for a player, right? So make sure to join us over at dogsbynature.com for all your Cleveland Browns news and analysis. I'll make sure to put a link in the description below, so you can hop on over, sign up for DPN, and check us out there. But yeah, looking forward to hearing these comments and looking forward to breaking down these newest Cleveland Browns. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.